Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Judge, while you're getting ready, can we sing happy birthday to you?
I'm ready.
You ready for happy birthday?
No, I'm ready to start the meeting.
Oh,
Oh, my goodness. I'm proud to be another year older.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Thank you. All right. The meeting will please be called to order. I can't get it going this morning. It is 9 o'clock plus, so we do have posting in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, as amended, known as the Texas Open Meetings Act. Any members of the public who wish to speak shall each have 5 minutes. Anyone? All right. If not, we'll go to item number 1, which is to approve the minutes of the December 7th regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 2 is budget transfers and amendments. We have 2.
Make a motion to approve budget transfer and amendments.
All in favor, aye? Motion carried. Item number 3 is to approve and pay the bills. I think we have 3 sets this morning.
Yes, utilities, then the regular bills, and the art fund.
Art fund.
Oh, yeah, sorry. 600. Same thing, just 4 of it.
Will, have they got our bonds yet, do you know?
Yeah,
You already got it?
mine didn't show up on the bill, just,
Mine didn't either, I just wanted
Lloyd's
to.
did, I guess he was Earlsburg. Probably got two
Yeah, mine didn't show up either.
We do have all the bonds.
Andy said,
Yes,
It just didn't
we
show up
checked
on the
those
bill.
out. Yes, we just paid what we received, what we had.
It's probably in paid on the floor. You can check with me afterwards if you want me to
Karen,
double.
Beth, you made a list of all the people that needed bonds, is that right? Done for the first?
I didn't make, Karen and them made the list.
Okay, okay.
Clyde's already signed his, everybody, they're all in there, they're signed.
Okay. We just maybe don't have the bill yet for it.
Yes.
but
Right,
we do
yeah,
have
it
the
just didn't
bonds.
show up on, I just
Just
noticed
checking
it
it.
showed up on
Right,
his.
right.
and
We
Andy
just
says
paid what
his,
they
but we
sent.
don't.
Hmm?
Andy's, it showed up on Andy's bills.
Yeah, we must have been later. I was about the last one, I think, to go over there, so.
Just noticed Commissioner Precinct Four's glasses, I like those, with the little diamonds on the side.
Really, I'll let you borrow them if you like. It's gonna be nice to you since it's close to your birthday. Look, I got all kinds of, look, how about these?
I'm not sure if those are mine or somebody else's, but you can sure wear them. The, one thing that I had noticed as we looked through the bills, the food cost for the senior services for that one, I guess that was for 1 week, but I guess that was things that they had gotten to do a Christmas meal on, so I know things have gone up a lot. But in case you see that, we did talk about that. Any discussion on the bills?
Motion to pay the bill and the
That's the one?
operator, yeah.
I second.
payroll. Number 4. What is step pay overpayment? What does that mean?
So Judge, the explanation on that is that new step thing that we're doing for the 2 deputies in the sheriff's department that are doing the text dot step program, and we're getting reimbursed from the county.
Okay.
So it's a new thing, and we're actually having to pay them out overtime instead of being comp time like
Yes.
normal. And so, because this was new, we put it in last time, which was when they weren't, this time they didn't. When we left it blank, it automatically gave them more money. It gave them 80 hours on their check, and that wasn't caught till after we ran checks, so then we had to retract that and do it right.
Okay, all right.
So it was caught and corrected though. Thanks, Bobby.
Any other discussion on payroll? Do you have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the payroll. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5 is reports. Would you pass that on, please? So we have the report for precinct 2. For November. The senior services report for November. And an extension report for November. Are there any other reports?
Judge.
Yeah.
There.
We have an auditor's report for November. Yes. And the treasurer's report that is based on that. November's auditor's report. Number 4.
Judge Grant, here is the 2023 annual employee driver's license review. There was 52 that were looked at, all employees were looked at, and there were no exceptions, and everybody was good. So
Everybody can drive.
Everybody
On
can
the
drive.
list. All right.
We just need the fire departments, most
Yes.
of the fire departments.
All right, which fire departments do we need?
We
We
need
have
a-
some firemen here,
we've got Fairfield, and we have just got one thing that we're working on with Donnie. The rest of the fire departments, we still need their updates and revisions.
okay, all right. Y'all will get that in so we can get those approved to drive. Pass that back. I think we do this.
Let's just go over there.
Jeannie will need one of those. Yeah. Anyone else have a report? Aaron's looking down, I guess he doesn't have a report.
No, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion to accept the reports.
I make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 6 is burn ban.
No action.
No action. 7, special road use agreements. None. Item number 8, bonds and education certificates. I have an education certificate from Clyde Ridge for AgriLife. Thank you. Okay. We have bonds for Will Burton McSwain, 2 bonds. For Cinnamon Archibald, for James R. Lawrence, Ashley Campbell, Lisa Hendricks, Linda Grant, Teresa Ferris, Clyde Ridge, 2 bonds. All right.
I turned my certificate in, is it? just
Last
what-
time.
No, I did it one day this week.
It's in there.
It's in there? Okay, I just make sure it didn't get lost.
Mine's in there too.
It's in the next, it's on the next number.
Well, it sure is. Okay. We have a motion to approve these bonds.
I like that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
Okay.
Motion carried. Oh, these are under number 7, sorry about that. Also under number 8, we have education certificates. We have it for Lloyd, and that is the AgriLife Extension Program for Level 3 Security Awareness, Linda Grant. Birth registration, Dawn Melanton, Alicia Davis, Tammy Rickenberg, we have a continuing education transcript for Dan Ralston, and education training through the BG Young for Dan, Will McSwain, birth registration, Jamie Myers, and AgriLife for Andy Bonner. All right, do we have a motion to approve the bonds and education certificates?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 9, consider adopting a resolution indicating the county's intent to consider providing tax abatement. And this is a resolution to consider.
Judge, can I speak on that matter?
You can.
So the resolution doesn't bind you, it doesn't cause you to have to do anything. According to chapter 312 of the tax code, for the city, county, anybody would consider a tax abatement, you have to do a resolution ahead of anything. It's part of the tax code, so.
It's just a resolution to consider.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. All right, and the next one is a public hearing on the tax abatement guidelines and criteria. We will now go into a public hearing. What time is it?
9:24.
At 9:24. All right. We have a tax abatement guidelines and criteria that we have done on April the 8th of 2021. It was approved. I don't know of anything that needs to be updated or changed. Do you have anything?
Well, I'll speak in the public hearing on behalf of it. I would ask the Commissioners Court to approve the current guidelines and criteria. I would think it's consistent with the city of Fairfield. It's identical, except Fairfield gives points for sales tax, in which They benefit from that, you all don't, so that's the only difference. They had, last week on the 13th, they adopted the exact same guidelines and criteria at their meeting as well, so. And think about that, when you adopt them, they're good for 2 years, but you can bring those up on the agenda of any meeting of your choice, and you can amend those guidelines in the future, so you're not, anytime you want to do it, you want to change something, you're welcome to do that, so.
So what we'll do, if we approve these, well, that'll be on the next, if we adopt, we will just change the date on that, because we
Yes,
won't
ma'am.
change nothing. We are in public hearing, does anyone have any?
Judge, before we end the public hearing, can we get a summary of what those guidelines are for the public to know? 'Cause
You can get a copy of them.
in this meeting, can you give a brief summary of what they say? I mean, are
Would you
there
like to give us a
general
brief summary?
rules for how much and maximums and things
I
like
would
that?
say, yes, I would.
I would just like to give her a copy of the whole thing right here, that'd be great.
Anyone can request a copy of it. Basically, there are eligible facilities which can request, and the facilities that do request guidelines that you have to go by, which are these, and standards for tax abatement. And then also, there is the abatement schedule, which tells you for each of the, let's see, A, B, C, trying to count how many different things that you get points for.
They don't know.
I don't have an extra copy back.
I got a
We
question.
can get a copy made right now.
different categories.
10 categories, and you get different points for those, and you have to total up to a certain number of points. When you get those points, it determines your percentages.
My question is this, I want to be educated, is this guidelines, we're not bound? Are we bound to, if it comes out to this, that's the way it is? I mean, these are just guidelines?
These are just guidelines,
That was my question.
just guidelines that they use to prepare their
Okay.
presentation.
Got it.
And requirements such as the public hearing that we're having today and various things. So depending on the points you get, that's how they try to say what you're qualified for. Qualified for.
For
Doesn't mean we even
their
have-
request.
Yes,
For
doesn't
their
mean we
request.
even have to give them a payment.
Right, that was just my.
Yes, yes.
Did you say that you do not have to give it an abatement, but someone can, for instance, these solar companies coming in, they're asking for abatements as soon as they get to that point in their process.
That's correct.
There are, I think you told me several months ago, there are maximums that the state says you can give, or minimums?
Solars are a little different
Okay,
on the
Yeah.
abatement issue.
okay.
Yeah, I'd like to say on behalf of EDC, I don't represent any solar company, and I'm not bringing any tax abatement for solar companies to the city or the court. What we do is we recruit primary jobs, so we recruit
Yeah.
companies that create jobs.
Right.
And so you're scored in the tax abatement guidelines and criteria for the capital investment you'll make, but also for the jobs
For the
you'll
jobs.
create.
Yeah,
Make it
it's all factored into the points, that's what generates
Absolutely.
points.
If you create more jobs, you can get more points, to get you more abatement. Also, if you build a bigger project, you can. Solar farms create a super big project on the ground, they create 2 jobs.
Yeah.
Now that project's a good project, but it creates 2 jobs. The things that we recruit and go after is an all-around project that we try to get them to build in the city limits of Fairfield, of course, create jobs and capital infrastructure all at the same time, so.
And the points are different, but I think the jobs probably is the most important thing,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
Well, all of us.
Yes,
The right kind of job,
the right kind of job.
yeah, not just
Sure.
wage jobs.
Yeah, and there's points in here that you get, you have to, make one more point about that, there's NAICS codes. There's certain industrial codes, you can only qualify to get abatement if you're within those NAICS. And generally, those are industrial, manufacturing, transportation, warehousing. For you all, retail don't count. And there's a lot of other type of businesses that wouldn't qualify at all. So you have to create a primary job to even qualify for abatement. So those are jobs that we're all familiar with, that we're all looking to try to land here, so.
She's making a copy for whoever was writing. Any other discussion in the public hearing?
I just want to say thank you for having this discussion.
Sure. If there's nothing else, we will end the public hearing at
9:30.
9:30. Thank you. Now go to item number 11, which is to consider adopting the tax abatement guidelines and criteria. We have the ones from April the 8th of 2021. You know what? Beth, I don't think I gave you the last part of it. That's on,
Full copy.
yeah.
I got a full copy sheet.
Well, I
Yeah.
just slid it out of, here's page 9 and all.
Okay, this is the guidelines and criteria, this is, the agreement. You want to hand the agreement out? This is the agreement with the.
This is
lumber
tax
company.
abatement guidelines and criteria.
Right, this is,
It's not, it's more pages. Did yours end on page 8? Did you hand any of those out yet?
No, it has not.
We'll do it, take those, that's all this same thing, tax abatement and criteria.
This is, I think this is the,
11
abatement.
pages.
Yeah,
There's 11 pages.
11 pages.
With the guidelines.
This document is item number 12 on the agenda.
Number 12.
This is the agreement with the Hoover.
Did this end on page?
Yes.
This ended on page 9, page 8, and that's page 9.
I think that he just has that as a bullet, his recapture.
There's 11 actual pages
Yeah.
to the,
And all I have here is 9, 8. So, wait, here.
And you just handed me a
There
letter.
it is right there, yeah.
Those, yeah. Thank you. Do you want to wait till we get those, or we can go ahead with adopting the tax abatement guidelines and criteria, which is number 11.
Any motion to,
Yes.
make the motion.
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt the tax abatement guidelines and criteria as presented. All in favor, aye. Motion carried. All right, we'll just change the date on that, and that will be our new guidelines and criteria. Item number 12 is to consider adopting the tax abatement agreement with Hoover Treated Wood Products, Inc. You have the agreement. We have looked over that. We did have, I think, a couple of things that we had wanted to visit about, and that was item number 11 for the 5-year period.
You got a copy of it?
Well, I'll get it from Mike now.
oh, okay.
No, you should have one in your deal, though.
Man, I'll have one in your book.
Yeah.
Under number 12. That's why I'm starting to run back.
Yeah, I don't have.
Maybe it was all clipped together with the thing before, with their number 10. Mine,
No. I got 11.
number 11, yeah.
I got one.
Just a minute, and we'll have some more copies made.
That's 7 right there.
Here you go.
That's the agreement right there.
That's
You got one,
you have one?
Yeah, I got one.
All right. You
That's why you don't have
I had one, I looked at mine the other day, but I made some notes. The question I have about this treatment of wood products, Hoover treatment of wood products, what happens in 5 years and they don't have 50 employees? Because I looked at some of their other companies and they don't have a lot of employees. I mean, at those other sites, they have nowhere close to 50, the ones that I looked at, that I researched. So what's our guarantee in 5 years they're gonna have 50 people, and if they don't have 50, what are we gonna get back in return?
That's a really good question. So according to the agreement, after 5 years, they gotta pay that money back. If they're disqualified at the end of 5 years, if they hadn't created all the jobs, then they've gotta pay that money back. And so
Does
they
that
can,
say that in this agreement?
it does.
I didn't see
I
that.
didn't see it. I could have missed it.
Should say that back there, let me check real quick.
Number 12. Isn't it? No, that's 1 year.
What about number 10? The taxes that would have been paid had owners'
Yes, that's where.
taxes been reduced, not been reduced, under the terms of this agreement. Okay, plus interest at the rate
They
provided.
become, so what they do, according to tax code 33.01, they become delinquent taxes.
Okay,
And they're subject to penalties and interest, and there's, just like everybody else, there's automatic tax lien put against you for that. So the consequences of not living up to the agreement are, you know,
Okay.
they're pretty,
I missed that.
they're pretty, I'd say severe. We're talking $130-something thousand over 5 years. But that's certainly, they would have to pay that back. So,
All right.
because we run into this issue about, with every company, generally you don't have, unless you have a big warehouse distribution company that's gonna open on day one, employ everybody at the same time on day one, which is very unlikely unless it's distribution warehousing. Everybody else in industrial setting generally opens, you know, soft opening or whatever, and then they build their employment up. But our provision in here is you've got 5 years to get it all done, of course, or however in terms of the guidelines. It's 10 employees the first year, and then 40 employees, you know, up to 5 years. And if they don't do that, then they certainly got to pay the money back if they've taken advantage of the tax abatement. So they got to pay it back.
And if not, we put a lien on $9 million.
So after 5 years, they say they have 50 people, and first day of the 6th year, they don't have 10 working, what happens then? Nothing. We can't get our money back?
No, you can't.
They're not giving them a abatement at that point anyway.
So
The abatement's over.
Yeah.
So they can go back to 5 or whatever?
Well, they could, but if, you know, they made a big investment with a $9 million project and 50 people for 5 years to on the 6th year just to retract 10 or 15 or 20 of those, it's probably unlikely they'd reduce the facility if they built a $9 million facility there. And to answer your question about some of the locations, some of the locations are distribution centers and they're not full-blown plants that manufacture a product that they have. And Barry Holden, which is the president of the company, told me the other day that Fairfield and Florida, those two plants will do full flame retardant lumber only. And that's why they're a little bit bigger.
And they have one in Florida?
The newer one is the one in Florida.
Do you know how many people work there?
I don't know about Florida. No, there's a little bit under, just short of 200 people in the whole company. So, but they believe the Texas plant here in Fairfield is going to do really well because they're going to do only flame retardant lumber here. There are some facilities they've done pressure treated lumber in the past, but that's a different process. And he assured me that Fairfield's not part of that process at all. This is all flame retardant material.
So what we will need to do then is just to request from them verification of the number of employees that they have at that time.
Yes, ma'am. Well, the way it works on the back of this agreement is Exhibit B, and it's a certification that they actually finished the project, like they've completed all the improvements. And that's the triggering event that starts the timeline because the agreement says you can't apply for abatement until January 1st, of the following year after the completion of the total improvements. So first they're gonna build it all, and then they're gonna sign this Exhibit B on the back that says, okay, I've met the permitting process, City of Fairfield, got a certificate of occupancy, and I've built the project. That stamps that.
That's when the clock starts.
That's when the clock starts. But then let me tell you this, so they're like everybody else. They have to actually file an application with the appraisal district to request the abatement. And that is always reviewed by the chief appraiser, and then they have to report to him the value, the $8.9 million, have to report the jobs and all that, so he can approve the abatement, then the abatement will begin. So theoretically, you could approve it here, over a year from now, they not even qualify, and so there's no harm there. So
But at the end of the 5 years, then we can request
Absolutely.
that they certify that they have 50 employees.
After 1 year, they need to show their
Certified.
team.
That's right.
yeah, after 1 year, they gotta show 10, and then after 5, they've gotta show 50, that is correct.
But we will be responsible for asking them for that information, is what I'm asking.
Yes, that's
You know, and
that's
when
part of
we
what
did-
I do.
When we did Sanderson Farms, we had in there that they had to send us a certification rather than us requesting it from them. We'll put it on the calendar for 5 years.
That's what I do. With my other projects in the park, I have a certification form, and whenever it comes up, I send it to them, and I say, sign this, and swear that it can show me some proof that the best way to prove employees is 941. If you're paying somebody, the 941 will tell the tale. So there's a way you can first get their certification, and then you can check and see. Because if they're not on payroll, they don't exist, as far as theoretically in terms of what we're talking about. So when you submit your 941 to the state, that's what I'm looking for to get the proof. So
And you'll be asking them for that.
I will, because they're in our industrial park, and we have an agreement with them as
You will
well.
give that information to us.
I will, absolutely.
Okay. Just checking.
So they've signed, if we can do this deal, we'll close on it by the end of this month, which we're hopeful to. We'll transfer the land over to them, and they've signed a note and deed of trust with us for the value of the land. So, and that's holding security, and they've also signed a performance agreement, says they'll create the same number of jobs that they're asking for in this abatement.
Because they've got to operate so long, correct me if I'm wrong, if y'all give them land, they've got to operate that business for so long, and if it fails, was it 5, 7 years?
I got 5 years on
Yeah,
this one.
then if not, they got to reimburse, they got to pay
Yeah,
y'all.
I have a first right of refusal to buy it back if they don't build for basically nothing. And the second thing is, once they build, then I have a 5 year, at the end of 5 years, they're in breach of contract if they don't produce the jobs.
I was thinking there was a 5 year
Okay, Beth, you can put that on our calendar, but for him to send that to us. Perfect. Okay. Any other questions? Item number 12 is to consider adopting the tax abatement agreement with Hoover Treated Wood Products.
Judge, I'd like to just say one more thing, just so you know, that last week on the 13th, I went to the city council, and they created the reinvestment zone. It's called Fairfield Reinvestment Zone number 2. They did all, because they're the lead taxing authority on the tax abatement, so they do a little more of the work on this deal than you all have to do. They created the reinvestment zone. They also approved the tax abatement guidelines and criteria, and they approved the tax abatement agreement, which is just like the one you got right there, it just says City of Fairfield. So just so you know.
When you say zone, is that just for that 34 acre?
No, I actually include the entire industrial park, the development area, so I wouldn't have to go back and do that again. The zone's good for 5 years. So anybody that comes within the zone, I don't have to recreate that again, I have to do that paperwork. I can,
It's kind of unique ground.
Yeah.
How much acres do you have in that zone now?
I have, what'd you say, how many?
How many acres?
How many acres? I've got 40, 36, about almost 100, or 95 or so. Yeah.
Any other questions? Motion?
I'll make,
I'll second.
adopt the tax amendment agreement two with Breeze Wood Products, Inc.
Motion and a second, all in favor, aye. Motion carries. All right. Item number 13 is to approve the contract between Freestone County and Limestone Medical Center for Freestone County inmates. I know that Karen has visited with them, and they have agreed to be paid on the same schedule as our other indigent. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And is this updated to reflect that?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect, all right. Let me see. Oh, yes, I see it, does say that now. Will pay according to the indigent rules set forth by IHS. Do we have a motion to contract with them? Contract for medical services provided to Freestone County inmates.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 14 is the contract for services with Firestone Casa, doing business as Casa of Freestone and Limestone counties. And this is a simple contract, basically like we have with the fire departments, that they will provide the services that they have agreed to do. They will provide volunteer advocates to ensure children who have experienced abuse or neglect have a safe and permanent home. And the services will be in the best interest of those children living in Freestone County. And they will provide these services, and we will fund them as is budgeted each year.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 15 is the ARPA funds. Award bids for a side-by-side with a slide out for the Fairfield Fire Department. And you have verified these through GrantWorks.
Yes, ma'am.
That they are on the SAM.gov, which is a type of buy board. Now, I think you have that in your packet. We still don't have anything on the trailers, is that correct? We're waiting on that, but we're asking, because they don't have it on the buy board. So we'll come back and have to either see if we get it through the buy board or if it's gonna come through, general fund. But we do have something on the side-by-side and the slide out. And the one that they are, Jeannie, you wanna talk about that?
So, after we got 3 quotes, it appeared that on the side-by-side, the Wood Cycle Country was the only one that had the SAMS number, which is that unique entity ID number. And so that one with the Can-Am broke down and all that was $37,751.46.
Were they actually higher than the 2 companies that were not on sale?
They were higher than one.
Higher than one.
That's,
But the transportation was left off of that one that they were hiring. Well, yeah, the 37,026 from Power Pro Sports, they left off a couple of different things that probably would have amounts in there for the transportation of it.
Yes.
And so, really, probably, they're gonna come out and be the lowest one or tied with that Power Pro Sports. So, they just left off the
yes,
transportation.
thank you. Okay, here's the one that has that on it.
Which one of them was 1,400 and one of them was for 2,400 for the transportation. Well, the lowest one was $37,026 and there's no transportation. This one is $37,751 and it is with the transportation and everything requested. Yeah.
And that's Wood Cycle.
And that's in New Braunfels.
You want to see this?
Now, on the skid unit, we just, found out this morning that, the Chemtech, the middle one, it's higher. We had 2 SAMS numbers on those, and so we were thinking that the Q-Tech, but they, Karen just found out, or allowed me to know that, the Q-Tech's SAMS number is expired, and we weren't aware of that, so, they gave us the number, that we had them checking. Wesley's actually on the committee that's in charge of some of this, so you got anything you wanna say?
Yes, I do have something to say on the Chemtech, skid unit, that I may have, overdone myself on the weight on that particular skid unit for this side-by-side. So, I need to see maybe if I can re-quote, or just know that I need to go with a lesser capacity water on the skid unit that they quoted for this Chemtech, because it may be a little overweight for the side-by-side. So, getting another quote from them, it could possibly be less.
Just another little thing on the skid units, those are like, so the companies that make those, they're not identical. You have to get whatever they make for that particular side-by-side. So I think like the Chemtech was like a 85 gallon, where the Q-Tech was a 70-something gallon. And so you have to get what they make. And so I think you can get another quote for that Chemtech for a lesser gallon.
So we're going to hold up on those until we get another quote on it, or?
So, your pleasure, whatever, it's your pleasure, whatever you'd like to do, if you'd like for us to obtain another quote for that, or if you want to approve that and it just be lesser money. I'm not exactly sure.
I think I'd rather do that, just approving it and it be lesser money.
I'm not guaranteeing that that's the way it's gonna be,
But with the ARP funds, we probably needs to be.
Okay, we're gonna hold up on that one then.
But we can go ahead and approve the side-by-side.
Yes.
If they're ready to do that, we do have that quote, they are qualified for the ARP funds.
Let's do the side by side and then let's get the actual money on the slide in.
yes, sir.
And we'll be holding up on the trailer too for the other thing. So that's all we're doing this morning is the side-by-side. And you're recommending the woods because that includes the transportation.
Yes, ma'am.
And the other one does not. So do we have a motion on that one then?
I'll make a motion, we go with Woods.
Motion in a second. All in favor, aye. Motion carried. It will come back on the others. All right. Item number 16 is dispatch.
Well, I want to start by saying, I know dispatch is tough. It's probably one of the toughest jobs out there. They get a bunch of calls. They have 9 different fire departments calling them, 2 different EMS services, and numerous deputies, troopers, a lot of, city cops. But even as difficult as it is, we still have to make sure that we do it the correct way. If they mess up, then we mess up, and it just goes all the way down, and it's bad on everybody. We have to make sure we get the right departments paged out. And we have to make sure that the information that we receive as those departments is updated the best they can. Because if they tell us that it's a minor wreck and they're just sitting on the side of the road, we're not going to take a rescue truck that carries hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of high-tech equipment to get somebody out of that car. We're going to take something that, if it gets hit, we're going to be okay with it. We can get by with that. And that's a big problem, because if we show up in the wrong truck and there's somebody stuck inside of a vehicle, we don't have the tools now to do our job. And it makes us look bad, makes the county look bad, and so on. So I think some of the problems that we've been having And these are not new problems, and, you know, this has been going on for years, long before myself or Leonard was part of the fire association. So I think some of the problems have just been training over time. I think if we could get some better training, find some good training out there, then that could really boost our abilities in that area. The other thing is I fully believe that the dispatchers are underpaid. I think they deserve more money. Like I say, they have one of the toughest jobs. They're the first line in 911 calls. They take the call, they hear it all. So they hear more than what the fire departments do. They hear more than what law enforcement. They are the start of it. So, you know, they really deserve, I believe, more money. And with all this, you know, the fire departments are not perfect. We have a lot of issues within the fire departments that we have to work on. And myself and Leonard, we know that, and we're going to strive to make them better. You know, cutting down on the talking on the radio, that's got to go way down. We have to make it quick. Like I said, they have a lot going on. We have a lot going on. So whatever we can do to help them, we'd be willing to do it. Well, we're willing to help them find a good training out there to get them to go to, so that they can understand why we do the things that we do on scene, or why we ask the questions that we ask. So that's what I have. You know, if Leonard has anything, he can say it. I think most of all y'all know some of the stuff that's been going on. So that's where we're at.
I don't have any.
Can I speak?
Yes, I see you back there.
I have packets for y'all. It shows what we're required to have for training, what we all have for training. And they're all certificate paid. They're TCOL approved. We have to have TCOL approved as far as classes. And we admire the fire departments. They get out there and they do what they need to do. They do understand that the calls that we get in, we are getting from passerbys. We'll have a wreck out there and people will say, oh, I'm passing by, nobody stops. So we can get the information they give us. We are not on scene. We can only give the information that they have given us. They will tell us it's a minor wreck, and we have people trapped in the car, and we don't know until somebody arrives. All of our classes are certificates, so we have to have certificates showing we have taken them. That's all I have. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for all y'all do.
So you're saying the training that y'all have got, you think is sufficient?
We can always get more training, always.
Okay.
I'm never saying that we can't, because we had a fire training for dispatch 2021, and it was a great fire class, they said. I did not get to go. We were going to go this year, and we weren't able to due to short-staffed.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to have 8 dispatchers. We've only had 5, sometimes 4. So we're covering one shift, and so we're not able to send to the training that we need to train to, unfortunately, until we get full staff. So we're working on that too, but we are doing online classes that we can take online. So, and we have CPR, we have crisis management, we have TTYs, which is for deaf and hard of hearing that we take. Any class that we can take online, we take. And we would love to go to more classes, and once we get full staff, maybe we can. We do have 6 now. That's with one that's training. He informed us that he is fixing to leave also, so we'll be back down to 5. So.
And to be a dispatcher, you have to complete certain.
Yes, ma'am. You have to complete a full access class. You have to complete a telecommunicators class. You have to. They have went to a 4-week class now that's wrapped up all in one, which that's really good because that helps with the state exam. If you don't pass all that, you can't be a dispatcher. We have a 14-week in-office class that we do. I say CAT class, it's a course, it's a training. It goes over everything from cow calls to our deputies, to our fire departments, to EMS, how to page out. Some people don't make it past that course. So, it's a lot for people. It is, you know.
So when you hire out in Freestone County, you don't have to have any training. That's when the training starts?
Yes, that's when the training starts.
So you're coming to work and they're watching you work and they can do
Yes.
online at the same time?
They have to have one class to come into dispatch, and that's our CJIS class, the security awareness. But other than that, the 14-week is trained in office.
Does that see just online?
Mhm. Yes, ma'am. And, we would love to have somebody come in, that's trained, but nobody wants to come in for the pay yet. So, unfortunately, nobody that's over 20 years old anymore.
Now, also too, Keith has implemented about a year ago an in-service, step-by-step training curriculum for the dispatcher. Once they come on, there's page by page. Learn how to just simply pick the phone up and answer what type of information to get and stuff like that. So we appreciate the opportunity the fire department says about more training. I think that the sheriff has attended many fire training meetings, has interacted with them. So anytime any opportunity presents itself to improve its position and stuff like that. And again, I think there's a continual open invitation for the fellows to sit in dispatch and to experience the information as it comes in and how it's dispatched out. Get a true understanding on the different criteria and the different information that comes in. But like I said, the biggest thing that Keith implemented about a year ago was a curriculum for a new dispatcher, and it's certain guidelines and a step-by-step, along with the additional training that you have to get online and in the classroom and stuff like that. And I think just to support what everybody else says, everybody appreciates it, every different faction of the county. It's just a matter of continuing to improve and work together and stuff like that. So we appreciate the opportunity they presented to us, and thank you very much.
Would y'all be interested in coming and sitting in and listening like he had talked about and
Sure.
having some input?
Love to.
I have one question. The training you put together, is that just for the new dispatchers that come in?
Everybody's had to do it.
Okay. Because it seems some of the current dispatchers still have an issue with being able to page the appropriate departments and
Yes.
send appropriate stuff. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, I understand that. Sometimes we do hit the wrong button. We apologize. We make mistakes. Sometimes we forget that we need to page, do out every time we have to page dig out.
But that-
Or treatment and emergency.
That mistake is a delay in us
Yes.
getting out there to help people.
And I
And it happens all the time. Very frequently it happens. And usually the same dispatchers.
Okay.
So why does that not get corrected?
Nothing's been brought to me about that.
We've brought several things up to you and the sheriff
Yes, and we try to correct everything y'all bring to us. We really do.
with an apology letter.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely.
Thank y'all for coming today.
Yes, sir, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to this.
All right, thank
Y'all
you.
have a great day. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think that there needs to be some outside training. If it's all in-house training right now, and it's a repetitive problem and it keeps happening, then we need different training. Somebody else to train or something. Because I know TEEX has a course available through A&M, and that was talked about when we were at Meridian the other day, the different opportunities that they have. I guess it's Hot Cog.
Actually, Hot Cog does have some training, and they say that they will come over here to Atlanta. So, we have a really good trainer with Hot Cog.
Atlanta.
Yes, ma'am, so
When we were in Meridian,
reach out for
they were
that.
talking about coming and helping too. Didn't they say they would come and help?
Yeah, one, I can't remember which one, but one of those three teams managers spoke on that.
Was it dispatch, was it mentioned? Or was it?
I can't remember.
They were.
I can't.
Well, and
I think
Hot
it
Cog
was.
is not limited to dispatchers. They'll come and here and get any kind of training class that we think we need. We just have to ask.
Yep.
Mhm.
The TEACS course is a week long, and we can do it to the grant, 2604. So we can get the grant. It's just a,
Matter of taking advantage of it, yeah.
Yeah, the fire departments can get the grant, and I know personally in TIG, that was something that Jody and Tier had talked about, and they both agreed that if the dispatchers would take it, then through our fire department, we would send, how many ever they could send that, that year. I know they can't send all of them, obviously, but, if it's 2, then we would do the grant and send them down there through the TIG fire department. And I'm sure there's other fire departments, Wortham, Fairfield, I'm sure anybody
Absolutely.
would do that because it's it's the state grant that we get. So that'll be there also.
Devin, will you get with them and see if we can work something out and maybe to take advantage of that?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Item number 17 is to consider a credit application with Home Depot. And, once we could get that set up and we can get things from there, not have to worry about the tax situation on it. I know from time to time, we do need things from Home Depot, and we could take advantage of that then.
And that's to get stuff that we can't get from local vendors.
Right.
I didn't,
Yeah.
that's the main
We
thing.
do
We don't want
try.
to be going up there getting lumber when we can get it from the county.
We do try to do the county when we serve
Sure.
the county.
Right.
I like the carpet that we're trying to get for the part of the dispatchers, not the dispatchers, I'm sorry, for the building over here that has the officers in it. Well, we tried to call and contact people that supposedly are servicing here, but we can't get anybody, so we're just gonna have to get it from Home Depot.
I'll make that motion, man.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. All right, now. Let's take about a 5-minute recess.